Hello, tiny friends. Welcome back to TinyKeyHoleMinis. Today I wanted to share with you this really cool find. So if you're a fan or a collector of vintage or nostalgic things, or you're a monster fan, or maybe you love Halloween and spooky things, you're probably thinking it's never too early for Halloween, and you may really enjoy this. This is a Neca action figure. I love NECA figures because they're so descriptive and very accurate. I found this one at my local Walmart in the clearance section for $15. This one was originally selling for $20, and I know that there are quite a few that are selling for $20. I know that there are several series of these little figures, and this series came out in 2024. NECA has designed these Ben Cooper Halloween costume trick-or-treaters. And Ben Cooper designed all those costumes from the 70s and 80s. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with those costumes. They came in kind of like a square box that was like a shoebox. And they had really cool art on them. The plastic masks with the little tiny nose holes and the little slit in the mouth. So you could barely breathe with that thing on. And it always got soaking wet inside from sweating because of plastic, right? The costumes were vinyl and they had some sort of graphic art on them. I think this is from series 2, but I'm really fond of this series because it has a lot of the costumes from when I was a kid. When I first saw this, I wondered if the mask was removable, if the costume was vinyl, and if the costume had that same vinyl smell that the costumes did when I was a kid, which I love that smell. I can still smell that smell today. I just love it. So I'm super excited to open this up and check this out. It looks like there's a pretty cool scene in here. So I want to see what that looks like. Okay, this is a little costume shop. And I don't know if all of the scenes are the same, but the witch comes with the little costume shop scene. So if you want to display your little trick-or-treater, you can use this scene. Or if you want to create some sort of display and use this scene in it, this is super cute. But I do have a couple ideas of my own, and I would really like to get one more. There were 2 on clearance, and they were both witch trick-or-treaters. I did purchase both of them, but I'm hoping to exchange the other one for a different trick-or-treater. I would love to have a whole clan of these little trick-or-treaters, but I'll be happy with 2. So I'm just using my nail clippers to clip off the plastic tie on here. And now I'm just going to check out this little trick-or-treater. So it is fully posable. The joints are a bit stiff when they're brand new. So the feet are a little tight. And if you get one of these or have one of these, you may need to just warm those joints up a little bit. But she will eventually stand on her own. I'm just going to move her arms a little bit to try and distribute even weight so that she can balance on her own. These figures are completely posable, so you can pose them in several different positions. Now the costume is vinyl and it is removable. but the mask is not removable. I'm going to give you a closer look so you can see her eyes. You can actually see her eyes through the mask, and you can see all the detail on her hair. You can pose her head to the side so she looks a little creepy standing there with her mask on. Okay, so giving you a closer look, you can see all the details in this mask, and I swear I have definitely seen this mask as a kid. And it's very noticeable that it's a little girl with her pigtails. You can see how the mask is tied behind her head and all the detail in her hair. And it does look like the mask is removable, but it isn't. I really wish it was, because I'd like to put it on top of her head like we used to do when we would get so hot and we needed to breathe. We would just slide the mask up and set it on the top of our head. Wow, this is so cool. And you can see the artwork on her costume is a witch stirring her cauldron. There's some spiders and bugs. She's got blue tennis shoes on. And yeah, it's pretty accurate. The costumes would hike up past your ankle like that. She does have a couple holes in the bottom of her shoes in case you wanted to put her on a stand. And by the way, I did smell the costume. It does not smell like the costumes did when we were kids. It doesn't really have any type of vinyl or plastic smell. I'm really struggling to get her to stand on her own. Maybe after a few face plants, but I get her to stand. Okay, so these little figures will come with a trick or treat bag or a pumpkin pail for the candy. She came with a paper bag, and I'm really not impressed with this. I'm kind of disappointed with this bag coming from Neca. It doesn't have any handles, so she can't carry it or hold it, and it's just flat. It doesn't have a flat bottom so that you can stand it up. Some of the figures come with the plastic Halloween bags that have some sort of graphic on them, and then others come with a pumpkin pal. I did see one trick-or-treater that was wearing a Beetlejuice costume, and it was from the Beetlejuice cartoon. So it was from the animated Beetlejuice. And their candy bucket was a Beetlejuice skull, a skeleton head from the cartoon, which was really cool. That was the coolest candy pal that I saw out of all of these little figures so far. And I do plan on upgrading this paper bag to the ultimate candy bag that we used to use when I was a kid. So I will be replacing this. I don't think they thought very much about her when they gave her this paper bag. Like, come on, Neca, what are you doing? This is disappointing. You can't give this awesome trick-or-treater an envelope style paper bag with no handles or no way to stand it up. Am I right? Okay, I do have plans this fall, this Halloween, to create some sort of display scene for her. It's not going to be a big project, but it will be some sort of cool display scene for her. I'll be working on that. That'll be my Halloween project along with the pet cemetery. This action figure is 5.5 inches, which is typically an adult size in 112 scale. So she's larger than 112 scale. That's okay. I'm going to build her scene according to her size. I would love to have an army of these trick-or-treaters so that I can give them personality props and make them look like they're up to no good and a little bit mischievous, like the kids were in my day. But I'll really be happy if I can get my hands on one more. And I would really like a little boy. I am going to show you a close up of the back of the box so we can take a look at some of the other characters that come in this series. Okay. I really like how they made these little trick-or-treaters very versatile. Like you have the little creature, the first one, that's a little girl. And normally little girls wouldn't be wearing costumes like that. So I love that they made her a little girl. You got the skeleton, you got the devil, you got two devils. You got the first devil in the first row, and then you got devil volume 2 or version 2. You got Frankenstein and the mummy, which is really cool. You got Dracula, you got the Phantom, and I believe the Phantom does come with a pumpkin pal. And then the other little girl, there's 3 little girls in this series so far. The other little girl is the little vampire girl. You see her down here, and I really like her costume because it's a gown, which a lot of the little girls' costumes were gowns. So I really like that they did that. But I feel like the little girls are all the same mold. They all have the same pigtails. I don't know if that's the case for the little boys, if they all have the same hairstyle. But the artwork and graphics on these costumes are super, super cool. And these are definitely awesome little replicas of what we looked like as kids on Halloween. I love it. In my day, these costumes probably cost anywhere from $1 to $5, which is very cheap these days, but I feel like that's also kind of inexpensive for those days as well. Even though you were only making a couple of dollars an hour, minimum wage was only like a couple dollars an hour. I don't know, $4 or $5. I don't know. Imagine only making that these days. I don't know, but for about an hour's worth of work, you can pick your kid up one of these costumes. I didn't always get to have one of these costumes every year. There was 3 of us. My mom was a single working mom, and she waitressed, so she was only making like $1 something an hour and basically living off of tips. So most of the time we had to make our own costumes, which I didn't mind because I was a creative kid. But every now and then as a kid, you want to have what the other kids have, and you want to be able to blend in and look like they do. So every now and then, I really did want one of these costumes. And I was thankful for the times that I was able to get one of these costumes. Just the little things that make your kids happy, the littlest things. And back then, we didn't have screen time. We had Atari, but we weren't really into that too much. We were more into playing outside and playing with our friends. We weren't really homebodies, that generation of kids. I did like to come up with my own costumes. I remember, I think I was like in the 2nd or 3rd grade, and I came up with my own costume. It was a Hershey Kiss. I was a Hershey Kiss. And I remember clearly sitting in the kitchen on the floor, creating my costume. And I used a black garbage bag and I stuffed it with newspaper, like crumpled up balls of newspaper. And I taped, well, I cut leg holes in the bottom of the garbage bag. And then I can pull it up and tie it around my neck. I cut armholes in it. And then I stuffed it around the bottom part. And I taped the leg holes closed to my legs so that the newspaper didn't fall out. And then I made the top part, I made a little hat. It was almost kind of like one of those cylinder, those triangle, those cone cylinder birthday hats. It was kind of like that, but I made my own. And I used aluminum foil to cover that up. And then I used toilet tissue for the little Hershey Kiss streamer that comes out of the top, the little paper that comes out of the top of the Hershey Kiss. It was very creative for my age, and it was equally executed for my age because at the end of the day, the tape was no longer sticking to my legs, and some of the newspaper had fallen out. And I was a walker. I walked to school and back home. But for the most part, it worked out. For most of the day, it worked out. I don't know how I came up with that idea, though, but it was a good idea. It was. Okay, so I have two ideas for this project. And I guess depending on how many of these little trick-or-treaters I can get a hold of from now to then, I may end up having to decide based on that. But I'm going to tell you my ideas, and maybe you guys can leave a comment in the comment section below and let me know which one you like best. And then maybe I'll just decide to go with the majority. Okay, so my first idea is just a basic, typical idea that you may think of when you see these little trick-or-treaters. And that is to build an old, creepy porch. And then the trick-or-treaters going up onto the old, creepy porch. My second idea would be Halloween party scene. Now, that's where, a handful of these would really go. Well, I guess a handful of these would go really great with either scene, but I can still create a Halloween party scene with two. I can, have them interacting with each other or standing at the food table or something. I'll still be able to create the feeling that there's a full party going on. Either way, it's going to be suited back in its day and age. But I definitely need one more. I can't have a trick-or-treater treating on her own. That was never really a thing when we were kids. You always saw like a group of kids or a big clan of kids trick-or-treating together. You never really saw a single trick-or-treater all by themselves. So I definitely need one more. So yes, let me know which one you like best or would prefer to see, and I may just go with that. Okie dokie, tiny friends, that is all I have for you today. And if you are thinking, it is way too early for Halloween, girl, well, it is never too early for Halloween. So if you've enjoyed this video today, please don't forget to click that like button and give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below which idea you like best or would prefer to see, either the porch or the party. And if this is your first time visiting Tiny Keyhole Minis and would like to see more of my miniature creations or would like to see when this project goes down, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the top bell notification button to be notified every time I upload a new project so you don't miss out. As always, I'd like to thank you all for watching and welcome all my new subscribers. Thank you all so much for your support. Until next time, tiny friends, You all have a lovely day, and I will see you all on the mini side. Bye bye.